Hello and welcome to our season two of the Business Growth Lab. And today is episode one. We are diving in. These will be mini master classes and we're framing them mainly around money, wealth, abundance, finances. And so it was key that we start this off with talking about our money mindset and the mindset shifts that we need to take as we begin to grow, develop, shift, change our relationship with money, wealth, and finances. Now, I single those out individually because we tend to have different associations with each one of those words. For example, money, we think about the things that we hold in our hands and maybe that card that we swipe. When we think about wealth, it is more encompassing that we start to include just a different, like holistic view of how we think about it. And finances can be more of those numbers and the bank accounts and the investing and really leaning into even a more specific view. Now, notice with each one of these words, we have a slight different orientation, a feeling, a mindset around each one. And that's important to note as we continue to dive into today's lesson. So, hi, I'm Izzy Nalley. I do have an MBA, but I will tell you that most of my money work has really come from doing the work myself, from reading the books, applying it, working on my own beliefs. And then, of course, of being a business owner, you get to see this direct reflection in front of you of how is your business doing? How's your bank account doing? And I utilize a quote that I heard from another coach years ago, and she said, Your bank account is a direct reflection of your relationship with your money, and in the sense of energy. And I thought that was so beautiful. And I want to dive into that and really explain that more in how that impacted me, but also how I'm seeing how it impacts others. In every time that my energy was poor, my bank account was poor. And then when I started working on my wealth mindset and my own personal wealth, that my bank account then grew. So notice there that wealth is a mindset just as much as how it shows up into your life. So I'm excited to dive in. Let's get started. Today's session, we are specifically talking about mastering your money mindset to level up in your business. Now, even if you're not a business owner or entrepreneur, you're still going to find some beautiful insights throughout this series because let's face it, each one of us have to deal with money. It's the currency exchange in our lives. So we're going to dive into 7 shifts to transform your financial beliefs into a prosperous mindset. Now, again, this is the foundations that we need to really cover and continue to revisit as we dive into this. So, shift number one is shifting out of scarcity to abundance. Now, another way to frame that is out of survival and into abundance. This survival mindset, or as I've read from another teacher, this net zero thinking really is uh, an outcome of a lack of financial literacy because most of us did not grow up with parents who really lovingly taught us financial, money, and wealth mindset strategies, as well as tool sets to be utilizing. Most of us had to figure it out as we went, and we are still mostly functioning from our child mind uh, in how we approach money. So, if you learned budgeting as a child, most likely you're doing budgeting now. If you learned how I have $10 and I get to spend $10, this net zero thinking, then most likely you're still in that mindset here and now today. But it's not just that, it's also how we approach what are our resources? How do we constantly look for new ways to build wealth and build money? Are we seeing things as an asset or are we seeing things as I like things and I want them? So, forming how we think about things, thinking about how we spend money, how we invest money, right? Like for me, I am huge on education. And so for me, every time I see something that is a learning opportunity, I'm spending money on it because for me, I think money and investing in my education. But over the years, I've found that sometimes that's good and sometimes that's also a crutch. Sometimes that is me using that thought and that saying as an excuse to buy the thing because I don't know if you all have done this, but I might buy an education program. I look at it, I have every intention of learning it, utilizing it, applying it. But it gets the one look, and then somehow it goes into this invisible land of never to be seen again. And that is not an investment. That is feel good spending in the moment because I feel like I'm getting smarter by buying this thing. But the truth is, right, like I didn't get smarter by just buying the book and putting it on the shelf. I got smarter by buying the book and reading it. And then I got even smarter by applying the things that I learned in the book. Most of the books I've gotten the most out of are the ones that I've read 2, 3, 4 times and continued to apply. And I don't know if you all resonate with that as well. All right. So shifting into abundance is also this ability to see endless opportunities. And I'm not going to lie, it's hard to get out of that mindset. When you're in survival mode and you are just in pity, blame, shame, like you're seeing all the negative, and to be able to shift out of that negative and get into the positive is a tool set, is a skill set of its own. But being able to first, everything starts with awareness. To be able to recognize, ooh, I am in a cranky mood. I am blaming everything for my problems, and I'm not taking responsibility for the things I can change. And I need to stop spending my time and energy on the things I cannot change. So I'm going to start looking for the opportunities. And psychologically, it's very, very challenging when you're in survival, in the scarcity mindset to think broader. It really does put like our blinders on. And suddenly we don't see all the opportunities. But when we can start to take those blinders off, allow ourselves to breathe. Practicing gratitude is a great way to get into that. And if you've ever been in that, like, ugh, that gross mood, it's heavy. And sometimes it's really, really hard to think about the things that you're grateful for. But allowing yourself to shift and get out of that. And if you want to hear more about that, we can talk more about that. But practicing gratitude daily is a really great opportunity to shift that and to keep yourself more in that direction. I can't say that we'll be there 100% at 100% all the time, but to be able to help shift ourselves. And there are some really great books to support with that, like the Gratitude Diaries, I believe is one. And she talks about how she did that with her kids. Um, Shift number two piggybacks on that, but it's another level. It's shifting out of fear and into confidence, or I also like to call trust. We were just talking about this today in another conversation, how amazing it is. Like, right when we get in this, like, oh my gosh, I'm fretting, I'm worrying. And then suddenly we're just like, okay, I've fretted and worried all the amount I can, and it's not changing anything. I'm just gonna surrender to this is the situation. And then suddenly everything starts to work out. Isn't it amazing? So, allowing ourselves to trust that when we stay in this abundant mindset, when we take our blinders off out of being in survival, when we can lean into whether it's your spiritual practice, your religious practice, your own self practice, however you want to view that is perfectly fine. But the feeling of fear, of worry, of feeding this monster inside of us that says, "Oh my gosh, the worst is gonna happen," and rather shift into what's the best that can happen. Now, to play out on that, I do this with clients a whole lot. They'll start worrying about something, and I'm like, tell me what the worst possibility is. Go ahead and play that out in your head, write it out. Now tell me what's the best case scenario and allow yourself to just play. Play is a beautiful way to bring in abundance, to bring in confidence, to bring in these opposing feelings that can help move us in a better direction. So replace fear of failure with self confidence. Maybe it's a bigger confidence, knowing that you do have what it takes. And this is where the spiritual practice does come in. I truly do believe, and maybe you're like this too, I truly believe that what is put in front of us is never something that we can't handle. I really do believe that every challenge that is put in front of us is a lesson to be learned because there is the mindset in which we approach it, there is the feelings in which we approach it, and then there are the skills that we utilize in order to approach the problem that is sitting in front of us. So, a great opportunity here as a key action for moving out of fear and into confidence is to identify your past successes. Remind yourself of your capabilities. And on the other side of that, more into the trust, identify past times that you felt stuck and felt like there was no way out and how suddenly it worked out. This is a beautiful exercise. I reflect on this often. Anytime I get into this rut, feeling like there's no way out of this hole, I say, how many times have I been in this situation where I felt like there was no way out and suddenly something happened? And sometimes I don't even remember what happened, but I know that I'm out of it. So leaning back into those past experiences. All right. Shift number 3 is shifting from limiting beliefs into empowering affirmations. Well, in order to shift out of limiting beliefs, we must know what these limiting beliefs are. So things like, I'm not good with money, to I'm getting better at money. Now, we're going to dive into this more, and sometimes these bleed together, but really reframing, which is in a couple slides, reframing allows us to say, like, but I'm getting better, or the growth mindset that comes along with it. But knowing the thoughts that are running through your mind is what we really want to get to here with shifting out of these limiting beliefs. Understanding that for each feeling you're having, there is a corresponding verbiage that is running through your mind. Often we're saying it to ourselves. An example I use all the time is this one day I really noticed I was sitting in my desk and going, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. Oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I don't know how I'm going to get any of this stuff done. I am so tired. And then I drink a cup of coffee and I'm like, oh, I need coffee because I'm so tired. And I just kept reiterating this word or this phrase, I'm so tired in my mind. And I had this like boom, like just aha moment. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to imagine that I'm drinking this coffee and it is giving me so much energy and focus. And I started saying to myself, I'm gaining so much energy and focus. I'm gaining so much energy and focus. And I was shifting into, wow, I have so much energy and focus and I'm going to get this stuff done. And just being able to shift that and shifting it really requires that you hear the thoughts that are happening in the moment and then shifting them into the positive. Because just to give yourself an affirmation while the negative one is still playing too, now you're just creating noise and it's not going to work to its full effect. So when you hear yourself saying, like, oh my gosh, I need to do my bookkeeping. Oh my gosh, I need to do my bookkeeping. Oh, I hate doing bookkeeping. To really shift into, like, I'm really open and curious, and I'm really enjoying shifting my money beliefs. So it can be an in process affirmation that you're giving yourself. That is perfectly fine. But we have to recognize first what are these limiting beliefs that are challenging the potential positive mindset that could come in. So replacing those. So I'm going to encourage you to take action with this, that anytime throughout the day, hopefully this week or uh, in this next month, to begin to make this a practice, that if the thought of money comes up and it feels overwhelming, to lean into what is the words that I'm saying to myself. And even if you can't catch the words, to write down and say, I'm feeling overwhelmed by this, and say, how can I flip that into the positive of what I want? So instead of I'm feeling overwhelmed by this, be like, okay, I am going to sit down with my money and really start to build a better relationship with it. I am shifting my relationship with money can just be a great um, sugarcoat version of how to replace that. All right, shift number 4 is, and we kind of lightly mentioned this, jumping out of fixed mindset and into growth mindset. So this is what we've been, or what I've been teaching you so far. It really is making sure that you don't feeling stuck in what your beliefs are. So these thoughts like, I'm not good with money, my career, people never make money in my career, or I'll never get ahead only making this amount. And these nevers, these onlys, these justs, these words that come in start to show us where our fixed mindset is. And we need to recognize it. Again, awareness is always the first step. But when we can recognize that I have a fixed mindset on this, again, we start to shift into the, well, that was the old way of doing things. I am opening up. So, growth mindset is also in that abundance category of what I teach. There is contraction, which is, you can see, like the blinders being put on by scarcity and survival, contraction, a narrow view, fixed mindset. And then when we shift into abundance, it is expansion. It is a feeling of making room for something different. It is loosening the grips of the fixed mindset. It is allowing ourselves to literally grow. We're expanding. Now, embracing the idea that your abilities, your intelligence can be developed through effort and through learning. Now, I really want to point out these two qualities of effort and learning, because often we feel like I just need to learn more, right? I just use this example of me, and one of my mindsets that I have to constantly work on is that I'm just going to consume knowledge, or I'm just going to buy the books or buy the courses, and it's going to like telepathically or transfer over to me without me doing any effort. And the truth is, in order to make change, even to change from contracted to expansion, takes an effort to make that happen. Now, typically, like in yoga and the metaphysics world, we would say you're releasing rather than doing something more. It's more of an undoing. However, like that does still take effort, because your mind, your subconscious or unconscious mind, does not like change. It likes comfort. Even if comfort is causing you pain, your unconscious mind will see the discomfort of change bigger than the discomfort of staying in the comfort. So we have to recognize that. And that's why I keep saying awareness. So as we change our relationship with money, wealth, and finances, we are going to have some growing pains. Now, it doesn't have to be painful, but your mind again will associate it with pain. And just like we would if we were training an athlete, or we're coaching a baby who's learning to walk or run, right? Like we're like, it's okay, keep going, you got this. And we are going to have to be gentle with ourselves and recognize the feelings, the emotions that are coming up with these changes. And only by listening to the emotions, bringing awareness to the emotions, can we move past them. And there is real science that supports this, but I'm not going to go into all of that at the moment. But to say, like, we can't just ignore the emotions, push them to the side, stuff them down because then we'll end up gaining weight, literally. um, and it will start to create dis-ease in the body as well. So, embracing the idea that your abilities and your intelligence can be developed through effort and learning. Now, this other part I do want to mention is a lot of times people say, I'm just not smart enough. I hear this way too much, or they'll call themselves stupid. And it's really, it breaks my heart when I hear this, but to know that your intelligence can be developed through effort and learning, which will develop and foster resilience and adaptability. As a business owner, we are constantly pivoting, we are constantly adapting. And if you are not used to that, that's more of the fixed mindset. The more you do it, the more it will start to soften your edges and make you more and more resilient and adaptable. So, again, that action item is to adopt the mindset of curiosity. Ask yourself, what can you learn from each experience, even the failures, especially the failures? Shift number 5. Shift number 5 is shifting from competition to collaboration. Now, over in the Whoa Network, if you haven't heard about the Whoa Network, this is our motto over on there. It is all about collaboration over competition. So the reason being is, again, competition, fixed mindset, contracted energy. Collaboration shifts into that abundance mindset that says there is more than enough for all of us. And this is really where we'll start to hear those limiting beliefs even more. Because if we really do have this fear, one of those fears and limiting beliefs is that there's not enough, that I have to be in competition all the time. But as a business owner, there is more than enough for all of us. For example, how many of us have been in two or more programs at the same time? Maybe you've even been in 5 different networking groups at the same time, and you've seen the beauty and the benefits of all of them, which is why you might be staying in them. So that just goes to show that there is proof that people are consuming more than one option, generally at a time. So allowing yourself to lean into, again, this abundant thought that there is more than enough for all of us to succeed. And rather, when we move into collaboration, we actually get to amplify, and it will also really, really, truly help you move out of fear, out of survival, out of scarcity, and into abundance. That itself is a beautiful exercise to allow yourself to witness the thoughts, the fears, and the feelings so that rather you can shine at your fullest, to shine so that you're not fearful of dimming someone else's light, but rather to shine bright, to give other people permission to shine bright too. So that if we're all shining brightly, no one's putting out each other's lights by shining brightly. No one's dimming someone else's light by shining brightly, right? So this belief that if I shine too bright, I'm going to put somebody else out. That is a common subconscious belief pattern that trips up so many business owners. And so we fear shining too bright, or we feel like everything's a competition and that we're shifting out of the 80s and 90s and it's not a competition anymore, even the early 2000s. Like we are now evolving, okay? And we have to allow ourselves to evolve and to step up and be a leader within our industry, to be a leader within our communities. And that really does require more of that collaboration mindset over the competition mindset. So instead of viewing others as competitors, now we might use that jargon, but not really truly viewing them as competitors, but rather seeing them as potential collaborators and sources of support. This opens up networking opportunities and shared growth. And again, this is how it will play an effect into how you treat money, how you treat wealth, how you treat abundance, how you will allow your finances to grow. So, what I would encourage you is like opening up to these opportunities is to reach out to fellow entrepreneurs and build relationships and see where you can find partnership opportunities. So, for example, right, like I talk about money a lot and we do teach financial solutions within my programs because it's so important for us to continue to grow as individuals and be able to do more in our businesses. But for me to partner with people who can help them learn investing even more. Like I can mention tidbits and I probably could teach them, but I don't need to be everything to everyone. Rather, I can partner with other businesses where that is more of their niche or their specialty, where they can deep dive and hold a container specifically for that. And then we can be referral partners rather than competition. This can allow additional streams of income. It can allow us to start to view our income sources in different ways. Again, out of survival and into abundance. Shift number 6. We're covering 7 today, so we're almost there. Shift number 6 is from reactive to proactive. Now, hopefully, you're seeing the theme again contracted, expanded, so, moving from a reactive approach to your finances, such as like putting out fires, addressing issues only as they arrive, right? Like, I'll deal with it when I need to deal with it, and getting into proactive strategy where you're planning your future expenses, you're planning your savings, you are getting more proactive. Now, we can see proactive versus reactive even within the healthcare, right? It's far more expensive to treat type 2 diabetes once you have it. It is far less expensive to treat it in a proactive and provincial way. So, same thing is true with our finances. So, we have been doing a 30-day money and finance challenge within the Business Growth Lab free Facebook group. And in that community, we have been talking about like just taking the time to look at what was your spending last month, not in a judgmental shame way, but in an awareness state. Now, for a lot of people, that causes anxiety to go, I don't want to know, out of sight, out of mind, right? I don't like doing these things. And so all these thoughts will start to come up. So, this is when we start to take the effort and we start to have these challenges put in front of us. It's meant to be a challenge. So we look at that and go, okay, opening up my bank account, what feelings are arising as I do that? Okay, why do I feel like these things are happening? Again, this is why I say being a business owner is the biggest self development project that you will ever take on. Because right here, we have a clear mirror being held up in front of us for us to witness the feelings, witness the thoughts, and begin to do the work. That as a business owner, that we start to approach looking at our numbers to be proactive, to be able to make decisions. But so often, our child mind or subconscious, unconscious mind will be like, well, I don't want you to look at it because if you look at it, you might tell me that I can't spend on the things that I want to spend on. Right? Like that's what my child mind says. Maybe yours does too. It's going, but no, I don't want to know because I don't want you to take my fun away from me. So we need to approach that and lovingly say, yes, but we have goals and our goals are going to be even better. They're going to be even more rewarding. Like, would you rather, and I literally talk to my inner child like I would a child and be like, honey, would you rather go on a trip to France or would you rather buy a bunch of courses that you're not even really paying attention to and they're not really helping you? And to have that conversation with yourself can be very healing. It can also be very productive. So to let yourself see that and shift into that proactive strategy. And again, it's always fun to start setting some goals of things that you want so that you can reduce the amount of pain from that change or the shifting for yourself. So set aside time each week to review your finances, to look at your budget, to sit down with your goals, that these things are as if you got to have a meeting with the CEO of your most idolized business and they were going to sit down with you and ask you questions and tell you how they do things. Would you take that super serious? I would hope so, especially if it's someone you admire. So, sitting down with yourself as the CEO of your business and imagine, okay, I'm going to put this hat on. I'm the CEO and I'm going to ask these questions. Now I'm going to take that hat off. And now I'm the worker, whichever role you want to play. I put that hat on and I'm going to answer them. And I get to play this playful game of role playing and playing this game of growing your business through your finances. This will only work if you bring some playfulness into it. If you put all the heaviness and the weight on it, it will be a challenge. I think that's pretty easy to understand. Now, shift 7, as we talk about our 7 mindset shifts, is to shift again out of the negative self-talk and into the positive dialogue. All right, so I've infused this into each one that we have been talking about, but really truly to replace that negative internal dialogue that really truly it's undermining your self-confidence. So, I think as business owners, we recognize the importance of self-confidence. Self-confidence will prevent procrastination. Self-confidence will make us better at selling, presenting, um, PR, marketing, like on all levels, right? People buy from confident people far more than they buy from not confident people. So, if we really truly want to work on our confidence, we must replace the negative self dialogue because that is undermining your confidence. It's undermining your confidence in your own decisions. It's undermining your confidence in listening to your own intuition. Have you ever doubted your intuition and then was mad at yourself afterwards? And being able to replace that with positive self-talk that encourages you and lifts you up. So again, as I mentioned, like talking to myself and my inner child and being loving, not mocking, because again, if as a child, most of the communication you've received, and maybe even as an adult, has an undertone of sarcasm, who that is insulting to make fun of yourself. Oh gosh, I used to do this so much. I would throw myself under the bus in order to make a joke and make it lighthearted in order to lighten a conversation. If you find yourself doing this, start catching yourself now because your subconscious mind is listening to all of that. And it is self destruction. Watch how you're talking to other people too. So, giving lovingness, shifting out of anything that is insulting, and always bringing in respect, gentleness, understanding, awareness. And if we can practice that with ourselves first, it will begin to show up and reflect in how we do that with other people. However, saying it out loud with other people is often like, ooh, I'm going to listen to those words I just said. And if you need to record yourself and, and hear yourself what you're saying, or hear it and write it down so that you can start working on those things, because I will tell you out of all the things that I could tell you to start working on, these are the things that will make the biggest impact, not just in your finances, your wealth, your enjoyment of life, your confidence, but also in your relationships with yourself and others, and ultimately your ability to enjoy life. Now, for that key action step is to practice mindfulness, self awareness, catch the thoughts, reframe them into positive ones. So, as we wrap this up today, I do want to ask you, like, where do you want to be in your money story? What do you want your money story to be? And often when we think about money and manifesting, we think about all the things that we want to have. And then we do think about things like, I want freedom, I want peace. But often we're not working on bringing those feelings into our day to day. So, a lot of the things that we covered, these shifts that we covered, really are asking you to start doing those micro shifts now so that it will then amplify, duplicate, replicate, and turn into this bigger life that you really truly want to have. In that, where you want to be requires a different path than the one you've been traveling. So if you are avoiding doing your bookkeeping, you're avoiding doing your budget, you're avoiding like enjoying money as a tool, because money is a tool. We're not putting it on a pedestal. This is not about being in a greedful energy, but this is more about embracing wealth and abundance, that there is more than enough, that just like there's a million and things that I could learn and I love learning, but learning is a tool. Just like mindset is a tool, money is a tool. Your mindset gets you to the habits and the results that you want. Money gets you the choices that you want to get where you want to be. So, not repelling money, just like you wouldn't repel mindset work, but to address it as the same. So, when we look at your money story, I invite you to ask, where do I want to be in the future with money? What habits do I want to have? Because to be a $1 million or multi-million dollar business, or even to be a business that hits 100,000 a year, you are going to need to be able to look at your money aside from just sales. You're going to have to stop avoiding it and embrace it just as you would embrace changing your mindset to get what you want. We need to embrace our relationship with money to get the things that we want there as well. That there's nothing wrong with wanting things, but to address the feelings, the experiences that you're really truly wanting to have by having those things, and to stop putting so much pressure on the money itself, because the money didn't do anything, it's just there, but rather to address you as a holistic being that is developing wealth. All right. So I hope you'll join me on episode 2. On episode 2, we'll be talking about attracting more abundance. And we're going to be diving into 3 techniques to attract more wealth and opportunities. In that, we're going to be understanding our financial energy. So, mindset's one aspect, but learning how our emotional and energetic state influences our financial reality. So those energy shifting techniques to develop the practical ways to raise your financial vibration. And then, of course, attracting wealth and opportunities, understanding the steps to create abundance mindset that aligns with your financial goals. So we'll dive into that more on episode 2. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if you're joining me in the Facebook group or live on social media, feel free to ask questions, make suggestions. I'd love to hear what some of those key takeaways from today are for you. And I will see you next time on the Business Growth Lab. Bye.